Hello, people. Um, yeah. What are my thoughts on the government restrictions? Especially Christmas time, and especially change it just a few days before Christmas. My thoughts are that a lot of people will probably either kill themselves or there'll be a lot of rioting, especially in the London areas. Because 21 million people in the whole of the southeast of the country, or 1/3 of the country who lives in the south. No, 1/3 of the people in the whole of the UK live in the southeast. So that's a lot of people, and those people cannot see their loved ones or friends or family at Christmas Day. Now, my feeling is that this will lead to a lot of suicides, and I think that the government is playing Russian roulette with people's lives, because it's one thing to say, oh, we're doing it for the health of the nation, which I can see their point of view, but there is mental health as well. People being separated, people being stuck on their own on Christmas Day can lead to depression, anxiety, loneliness, thoughts of killing themselves, and I think that the government needs to be a bit more compassionate and not so hard. I think it's. I was going to say I think it's good that they're thinking of the health of the nation, but it's balancing it with mental health as well, isn't it? Because being on your own Christmas Day, some people look forward to Christmas Day the whole year. Some people who live isolated lives, elderly people, grandparents, elderly parents, people who are physically impaired. And I think that the government is just playing games with them people in some ways, because it's hitting the poorest people the most. For instance, I've heard that there's going to be extra police in all the train stations in central London. But the people who drive, who's stopping them from going to London, and London people leaving London and other areas of the southeast? So I think it's actually hitting people who are the poorest, because the people who can afford to leave London in cars and things, or go into London and surrounding areas in cars, I don't think there's as many restrictions as them, and this is why I say it's unfair for the poorest people of the country. And disabled people and people in minorities, people who've got health conditions, especially as London kind of areas tend to be overstretched with care and support. So people who need care and support, and they haven't got their family and friends around them, who's taking care that they're actually being supported and cared for, rather than being abused, is what I'm trying to say. So, because isolating people because most of the year people have been isolated from each other, haven't they? I mean, me and Daniel, we've hardly saw any of our friends all year round. We met Lee outside a few times. And when they relaxed the restrictions, like they did on, I think it was December the 2nd, we met up with him. But then a lot of our friends we haven't seen for most of the year. Yeah, and it's worrying. I mean, I'm concerned. I think the government I think they're taking it a bit far in some ways, because a lot of people can get abused, and there's a lot of suicides anyway around Christmas, and this is just compounding it. It's just throwing a load of knives at vulnerable people, in my opinion. People who are already very vulnerable are going to feel it the most. Yeah. A lot of abuse and things happens at Christmas time, and I think without people's family and friends around them, who's to say that abuse should stop? So my opinion is that the government is sort of people are going along with it. I'm doing a YouTube video. People are going along with it, but why don't they just recruit more NHS workers, more hospital workers, more doctors, more nurses? I know it's a very difficult time to do that, and I know the resources are overstretched, but isn't that what the government's there for, to ensure that there's enough doctors, enough nurses for everyone? That's what the NHS is supposed to be there for. They've had all year now. It's been about at least 9 months. We've had coronavirus in this country for at least 9 months, so they've had plenty of time to up the wages of the NHS, give them more money, more incentive to work for the NHS, maybe double their pay or triple their pay in order to get more people in the NHS. I think it's easy for the government to say, oh, we're going to ban all people travelling from such and such area or whatever. It's easy for them to do that, but it's still going to fall back on them on the NHS in some ways, because people will need a lot more mental health if they're spending, for instance, if they're spending Christmas on their own and they're worrying all day about loved ones who are far away, hundreds of miles or whatever, or thousands of miles, and if those people, say that person died, they're going to regret that for the rest of their life. So, in my opinion, is that the government's playing Russian roulette, because all they're doing is saying that, all they're saying is that, they're just saying, oh, this is a strain on the NHS, but they're not looking at the mental health issue, because there's going to be a strain whatever way they do it, because the amount of people who are going to be, 21 million people who are going to be on their own Christmas Day, that's definitely going to be a strain on the mental health of the nation. So whichever way you look at it, there's going to be a strain on the NHS anyway, so they can't solve the issue by locking down 21 million people. And I'm just talking about this country, I'm not talking about the whole world. I mean, I reckon if there was a statistics of the mental health and suicidal rates of the whole world, I reckon that's probably skyrocketed, because there's so much uncertainty at the moment, and uncertainty breeds contempt, anger, rage, jealousy, and suicides, and addictions as well, drugs, alcohol. So it's all in a bit of a mess at the moment, isn't it? Anyway, that was my thoughts, that the government needs to be a bit more compassionate, because saying to 21 million people, and that's just in England, not Wales or Scotland or Northern Ireland, saying to 21 million people, oh, you got to spend Christmas on your own,